Welcome, my friends. This is your host, Mario Lanzarotti. Welcome to the Zenpreneur podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing a dear friend and mentor. His name is Eric Levine. He's a serial entrepreneur, a public speaker, a coach, a legendary fitness consultant who has played in some of the most major fitness brands around the world. He's an investor. He is the founder of Planet Yoga and Bikram Yoga, which is the first large yoga studio anywhere. And his story goes very deep. He is a representation of entrepreneurial success in the world. And today, I'm very honored to have him on the show. Eric, thank you for sharing your time with us. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Mario. That's quite an intro there. I don't know if I can live up to all that, but I'm happy that you asked me to come on, and I hope that I can cheer up, help somebody out there with some new thought or anything that I can do to spark somebody's new imagination and put
Yeah.
them on the road to their version of success.
Yeah, I love that. And Eric, you have quite a fascinating story. You did share that with me before. And for our viewers, where did this hunger for growth, for expansion, for entrepreneurial endeavors come from?
Well, that's a big question. I'm the type of person. I mean, I can follow someone or some movement that I believe in. There's no, I've been a disciple in the Himalayan masters yogic tradition. When another one with the biggest Buddhist temple in Thailand, in the world, Dhammagaya Temple. But in order for me to follow, I really have to be 100% bought in
Hmm.
to the whole thing. And so, because of that, and because of that resolute, you often do things on my own because then I know for sure, what's behind it, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
So, I've always wanted to do things that I believed in, regardless of if someone's going to come with me, or even more lucky that it even hasn't been done yet. Someone says to me, well, for instance, when I went to Asia, I landed in Hong Kong before the handover. It was still British, 1995, 96. There was no fitness centers at all in Asia. And I was told everything about, the look, the Asian people don't want that. The women will never work out with men. They won't sweat in front of a man. All the reasons why, besides the fact that the rent on my first location was 250,000 US dollars a month,
Wow.
okay, 25 years ago, when everyone's telling you it's not going to happen, you have to put 6 month deposit down and first and last, and I'm thinking, but to your Zen part of your program, I had learned all about manifestation, and I had learned all about acting as if and making the whole world think that I already had the most successful fitness center before I even got there. And I had already manifested it down to the smells, the feeling, the high fives, the music,
Hmm.
the windows, the escalators, the whole bit. So I
Hmm.
had that on me. So I knew that it hadn't been done yet, and I looked at that as an opportunity. So entrepreneurs, we're always looking for that edge, why I'm different, my product is needed, why it's better, why I can help bet more people,
Yeah.
all those things that go through an entrepreneur's head. And because I got into yoga and meditation and concentration when I was only 13, that's something that I do rely on, not just in business, but whatever. Whenever I have to make a decision, I try to go, you call it Zen, that's a good word. I don't even know what it's called. The magic of the stuff we can't see, but is as real as, the desk, as we all know.
Yeah.
So I've used that as a way of having no limits, Because if you know how to use the universe, there is no limits. You
Mm.
know, the limits are man-made. They're usually made by other people telling you about a limit. And I'm actually out of balance. I think I need to rebalance about reality more because I honestly don't see limits when I start something.
Mm.
My numbers that I use in my head, if I told them to a conservative, real business person, they think that I was insane. So, like you said, big picture thinker. I guess that's how you would categorize it.
Yeah.
But to me, I just go in thinking that there is no limit on it,
Yeah.
and so it's served me very well.
I love this. I think this is fascinating. And I'm curious. So when you talk about manifestation and you talk about, feeling as if it was already true, visualizing or like conceptualizing the smells that are coming and seeing the pictures, is like, how important would you say is cultivating an experience for your clients, for your customers, to create these world-class businesses that you have created numerous times?
It doesn't, that's a great question, Mario. It doesn't matter if you're planning on restarting yoga around the world or having someone be able to open up their potential. It's the same thing. It's
Mm.
just on a different scale. Maybe they're not used to it, but the techniques that are used to, as I say, to restart yoga worldwide and to take your 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 tool company in Philadelphia and go nationwide, worldwide with that same concept. It's the same energy. It's all from the field of potential opportunity,
Yeah.
and we all have access to it. You have to know how to get there. Okay, there is a roadmap. There's thousands of roadmaps, and it works. It's as or more important than knowing the budget, knowing the marketing spend, knowing how much capital you need. It's as important or more. And when you're coaching, to be able to give that potentiality to your client. I've seen just recently, I have three new people that I met at our last Bellwether uh, Alliance meeting. That when at the end of just the first time, I saw them come alive, and the partners would tell me, "I've never seen my husband like that. I've never seen my wife like that," because I hit it from a totally fresh. Everyone's different. I don't come in knowing anything of what I'm going to do. I listen, I feel it, I look at them, then I go into my own channeling, and I actually think that I channel. I think you channel also. I think all good coaches, we channel because it doesn't come from our intellectual side. Yeah, we know some answers and we have some formulas, but I really think that a good teacher, a good coach takes in the whatever info they can get and then has to go into the field
Mm.
and channel that delicate info that is made specifically for just that moment in space time. Get it, deliver it, and you're on.
Mm.
There's no way that that's not going to be the purest way of
Mm.
coaching or teaching. If you do it from a non-emotional, quiet spot, because that's the only way to get to you don't
Mm.
get to the field really with emotion. You have to have high emotion on the after effect after you created the picture. That's when your emotions have to come in. How do you feel that you've just created this amazing thing? How do you feel about that? Is it wonderful? Is your heart pounding? You feeling that you're giving? Are you on top of the mountain? That's when the emotions come in, but
Mm.
not before when you're looking for the channeling from the field. It's almost simultaneous, but you have to enter in the quiet. You
Yeah.
can't enter in noise.
Yeah. That's a
I'm getting a little weird, I know,
that's
but
a great point. That's a really good point because I think a lot of people, when it comes to manifestation, they talk about is just focus on the feeling to manifest what you want. But you're saying there's a big step before that looks from
yes,
what it looks like many people are missing. They're like, get into this centered state, this Zen-like state where it's not
yes,
about positive, negative, it's just you're in your center. And with that, from what I'm hearing, there's a sense of quietness that comes where this intuitive voice can come up. And it might be a, hey, get this yogi out of the jungle like you did, and bring them into Hong Kong to show them to the world. And most people might go, "Oh, that's a stupid idea. That's crazy. No, I would never do that." And you decided to listen. You decided to listen. And I'm curious, what would you say is the difference between somebody like you that decides to listen and a vast majority of people that also may hear it, but they're like, nah, not right now, or that's stupid, or who am I to do that? So I'm curious.
yeah. Well, again, another big question. Back to the first part of what you said, and you've heard it in so many different modalities of meditation. The quiet is the entrance to the field, the quantum field. There's many ways.
Yes.
It's through the quiet because when we're using our intellect, that's a tool in our toolbox.
Mm,
It's not the toolbox itself. It's a tool. There's
yeah.
a hammer there. A hammer doesn't work on a screw. A hammer doesn't work when you're trying to plane some wood.
Yeah.
And we usually go to our intellect. We think about it. Can be great if you're a scientist and you have to figure a formula out. But the formula for Zen, the formula for entering into the quantum field is through silence. That's the door. You have to center, you have to be quiet. And then when you enter the field of unlimited potential
Mm,
and you're quiet, you can hear it. You
mm,
go in with your thoughts, pre thoughts, which are, magnifying a little bit, you know, versus that, which is unlimited potential, always been, always will be. Let that teach you instead of your intellect and your previous experiences, which are very limited to your experience, people telling you what they think. That's not the field. The
yeah.
field is pure potentiality. And that's the technique to get in there. When you hear it and you understand it, you don't question it always.
Yeah.
As you're starting, yeah, well, you're going to question it because, you never felt that bubble that comes up and says, this is the answer. Like, who said that? Where did that come from? That's not part of my business plan. I
Yeah.
didn't think that.
Yeah.
Um, so in in practice, you get the balance. I'm not saying not to do your due diligence. You got to do everything.
Yeah.
But just as important is being able to go into the magic, manifest it, because everything here was thought first, right?
True.
You didn't have your computer out of nowhere.
Right.
Someone had to make it, envision it.
Right.
How does it work? What would it look like? What would it feel like? How could I connect? I can connect with people all over the world. I can get info all over. Someone had to dream it.
Yeah.
And the dream is the precursor to the event on all planes of existence, and certainly on the physical, which we're talking on now.
Mm. This is so good, and I'm very much in alignment with you, and it makes sense that you have created so much success because from what I understand, one of your habits for success is listen to this voice and listen to this all-knowing, all-ever-being teacher. Some of us we relate to it as God, spirit, universe, quantum field, it doesn't really matter. And I'm wondering, what do you feel prevents the average entrepreneur from accessing that field?
Mhm. Well, they don't know about it, and
Mm,
if they do know about it, they don't know the door, and it's not logical. It's not logical. You tell that
mhm.
to your grandfather, and he'll smack you across your head. Like, get to work. Go pick that up.
Right.
Or you're dreaming of having this machine that's going to pick it all up for the world.
Yeah.
He had to pick that rock up. So that's not logical.
Yeah.
It's not logical. It's not, unless you've done it enough to know that that's the way.
Mm,
9 out of 10 people would think you're in a fantasy world, and
yeah.
it is a fantasy world. But it will let it'll eventually be here and do that which you had imagined with great detail to actually manifest on this plane. You have to dream it first. There's no question about that. I used to talk at a Buddhist temple about to all the monks about tricking the universe is what I used to call my talks.
Mm,
This is 25 years ago, and they said, "What is that?" I said, "Well, after you've dreamt what it is you're dreaming, what is your passion, what it is, then you believe that it's already taken place. You
mm,
are that being that is that already.
no.
First thing that happens, your self image believes that you're that, you've done it. From that, people look at you and they actually see you as having done it. You're walking that way, you're acting that way, you're dressing that way, you're drinking that tea.
Yeah.
You're doing what that person should be doing. Now
Yes.
you believe it, now your friends believe it, and it never stops. And the universe now believes it. So the
Mm,
universe is going to open up that door
mm,
that that type of person could open and give it to you. And that, because I'm already here at this level. So the
yeah.
universe sees that and says, okay, he or she is ready for that because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And it's that. So now we call it manifestation and acting as if. I used to call it tricking the universe, same thing. And that's how doors will open way ahead of a logical look like, how did he meet her? How
Mm,
did that business come to him? How did she find that country? Because it was in harmony with that vibration of
yeah.
who the universe saw and
Yes.
opened up at that same level for them. That's why you got to check your limits, check your self image. We all have the same things constantly. Like when things aren't going the way you think they should, most of the time it's because there's a kink in your self image of believability and you're not acting at the level to open the door.
Yeah.
There's a fear factor or a disbelief factor. When you
Yeah.
disbelieve, it all starts to come down, and you're going to get the vibe that you're giving is
Yeah.
the only vibe you can receive, right? So if I'm giving a vibe of I've conquered the yoga world, that's the vibe that's going. Vibe
Mm,
said, I can't do that. No one's doing yoga anymore. I think I could, but it's a fake. I'm emitting that vibe, and that's all I can receive. And that's a definite law of attraction in my way of thinking, which is a resolute law. It's 100%. Has to be.
yeah. This is really, really good because I can relate to this. When I created my TEDx talk and the idea for it, I booked a trip and I was living in Mexico at the time, to a beautiful location called Bacalar, which is 2 hours, 3 hours south of Tulum. And all I did was at that time just open up, be present, just be really. And I allowed the ideas to come through. And
Mm.
then what the conversation that came through was exactly the conversation that you just shared with our listeners, where it's about you have to get into that resonance, that frequency, that higher frequency. And in that place, you're going to manifest the kind of life that you want. But a lot of people are caught up with self doubt, with anxiety, with negative self talk. And so I asked myself, how can I use the things that people deal with as a gateway to a higher vibration? And then I was like, oh, what if self doubt is actually the best thing that ever happened to you? I was like, oh, that's a radical idea. And I shared it, and
Mhm.
now over 1 million people over the world have seen it. So clearly people resonate with it. But it was
Yeah.
through what you have described, that listening, that quieting down, that becoming into your center, and that understanding that the end point where we create the kind of life we want is in that high vibration. So I love that. And I would love to hear a little bit more about what you think is, or actually for you personally, how do you, with all of this knowledge and at the same time all of the projects that you're dealing with at any given moment, how do you find balance in all of that?
That's the number one question in life. You know, sometimes I'm much better than others. Okay.
Mm,
Um, and when I am at my most balanced, this is going to sound weird, okay? When I am at my most balanced and when I'm the most powerful, I'm completely selfish.
hmm, interesting.
And what I mean by that is the old tale of taking care of the golden goose, making sure the
Yeah.
golden goose is shiny because the golden goose, golden eggs, is going to provide for the kingdom.
Yes.
And if the, whatever you want to call me a goose or call me whatever, if the leader, whatever, of a family, of a treehouse club, of $1 billion company, whatever, isn't selfish enough to make their best version of themselves, have your hairdresser come to your house to cut your hair. Have your manicure pedicure at your house. Have your masseuse come to your house. Have all your meals perfectly prepared by an expert. You make sure your personal trainer's waiting for you at the time. You have your yogi stretch you. It looks to the uneducated that you're a narcissist, that you're eccentric, you're it's blah 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 blah. In fact, you made yourself so powerful that you are so balanced. You're physically powerful. You have the time to do your meditation, your pranayama. You're fueling your body with the best of what we have on planet Earth. You
Yeah.
feel great. Then you go into battle in business, relationships, whatever, and
Yeah.
your sword is as sharp as
Yeah.
it can possibly be.
Yeah.
And so what we call selfish ends up really being selfless because of your mission is to give and provide for many through that vehicle.
Yeah.
And usually, as entrepreneurs in startups, we do everything. I've done it. We all go through that. And there's a time for it, no question about it.
Mm,
But when you learn the law of the architect, which is one of the precepts, let's call it, in what we do in Bellwether, the architect has to be free. She has to be available in the morning. She wakes up and it's, what do I want to do on my business? What is it that I want to achieve today? Not, I have to go do that. I have to do that. That's a problem. You're not the architect. You're a different level in your business.
yeah.
The architect be and the Zen master, all of that. When I'm taking care of myself in a seemingly selfish way. I can handle almost everything. Of course, there's unusual events that happen, but it's like a bank account. You keep putting money into your savings account. You can withdraw when you need to. You have it there. But when we're out of balance in any aspect of our life is out of balance. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we try our best to know our formula, what we need to be at the maximum strength. And I know what it should be. And I also know when I'm not giving that necessary effort or energy or time to that part of my life. I'm very well aware when I'm off, when I'm off.
Mm.
But I do also know what is needed to recalibrate.
Yeah. That's a very unique perspective and one I've never heard, and I really love because you're saying essentially that for you, the key to balance is to put yourself first. And, you said many people perceive that as selfish because they're used to taking care of other people first, and that's what we're sort of being taught. But you're saying when you put yourself first, you get to nurture yourself, you get to fill yourself up, fill up your cup, and from that you can serve in the most powerful way possible, which then goes back to actually that's a selfless act. That's not a narcissistic act. And I think one area in life where this becomes really, really clear is high performance sports. Like if you take
Mhm.
American football or European soccer, like take a Cristiano Ronaldo, the guy has a sleep coach. The guy has everything hand tailored, custom made for him to do one thing and one thing only: play. Play in his role, on his wing, in his role.
Yes.
And because he's so nurtured, he's one or if not the best in the world. And if you look at people like yourself, you are operating at a constantly high level, not just from an amount of the hours you put into things, but also the amount of concentration, the presence you bring to things, the kind of quality that you're cultivating in your relationships. And that just requires you to put yourself first. And if you're not doing that, you can't succeed because you have no balance,
Absolutely.
and then you burn out.
100% Mario. The simplest version is on the airplane. If the oxygen mask comes out, put it on you first before you help
Yeah,
others. I mean,
yeah.
simple and very simple, but that's still the thing. And Dan, our Dan Vega, our mutual friend, always says, look, if you really want to make a difference and you want to influence a lot of people, you have to be powerful,
Yes.
right? You have to be whatever that is, in
Yeah.
whatever it is you're doing, charity, nonprofit, profit, whatever. And that comes from power. And one thing that we have to know is the waste of time on things that should be done by others for you. And I went to a
Mm.
time seminar, oh my, 30 years ago, and she took me up on stage, and I found out that me going to the dry cleaners cost me $1,800 because it took me
What?
40 minutes of my time and I was making a certain amount of money. And that two
Yes.
hours of me out of my work during that time cost $1,800.
Mm.
And and it doesn't stop at that capsule. Where was the energy that red light, that guy cut you off? Now you're, a little aggravated. You didn't think of what you could have thought as a creator. It's so many. I'll tell you one thing. So I remember I was very busy. We had clubs all over the world, and I decided I'm going to take a month off. So I'm on the beach in Thailand, and I'm thinking, I'm Jewish, the Jewish guilt. Like, really? You've been here for 2 weeks. This is, your father would turn you over in his grave, and like, and I just shut up for a minute. And I came up with an idea. It bubbled up just because I was so relaxed, so in tune that I came up with the idea because we were charging everybody every month an investment for them to be at our clubs. Let's call it $100 a month, for instance. And I said, well, what if we did it every 2 weeks at $50?
Mm.
Four extra payments because
Mm.
52 weeks, 48, 12, right? 12 times 4 is 48. Now it's 52. Four.
Mm.
We had 4 million members, right? Times
Interesting.
$50. And it's easier to sell $50 than $100. We know quicker if that person isn't happy because he didn't pay. We talk to you right away instead of having to wait a month. That made tons of money. There's no way I
Mm.
would have got it if I got cut off going to my dry cleaners or I went to the grocery store and they didn't have the avocados I wanted and whatever.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. And that one idea, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe that's an extreme, but it bodes to what I'm talking about. Take care of the golden goose, make sure that she has all the food she needs to lay the golden egg. That's your responsibility because nobody's going to do it. Ronaldo came up with that because he knew when he got to the stadium, he was the best version of he could be. He slept, he ate, he exercised, his relationships. I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger in Pumping Iron said, if my mother called me today, he was a couple of months out of the Olympia, and said, your father died, I would say, well, I'm sorry for that, Mom, but I'm working for Mr. Olympia. I'm not coming home. I can't. I'm not, that's not who I am. I feel bad,
Mm.
but I'm working on Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Mm.
That says it.
Mm. Yeah. I think that's a conversation around really becoming clear of who you are and who you want to be in the world, and then asking yourself what is required. And
Mhm.
I've seen that in
Yeah,
my
what is
life as well,
required?
where I often didn't put my own needs first, and I would take actions to please other people, and I wouldn't draw boundaries. And oftentimes, then I would be left feeling aggravated, frustrated, and I would try to work, and my mind would go back there. I was like, trying to resolve that thing. And, you and I both know from the Bellwether philosophy, the law of open cycles, right? I have taken the law of open cycles and I've made a split. One is to look at the kind of tasks that you are involved in that you shouldn't be involved in as an open cycle. And the other one is in relationships. What is it that you are not addressing that should be addressed? What is it that you're not communicating that you want to
Uh,
communicate? What are the kind of
that's
feelings
a
that
big,
you're pushing aside that need to, come up? And I feel, you know, I really think it's beautiful that you're talking so much about energy. One of the things that I really appreciate about you, Eric, is like if on the outside people don't know you, they just look at your life story on what you created, the multi-million dollar deals that you are involved in the fitness industry. One, at least I would never think, oh, this man is someone that really harnesses energy and focuses on balance. It would look like, you're just go, hustle, hustle, hustle. But I really love that you are stepping out as a testimony to this other side of creating success that comes from a place of peace, that comes from a place of balance. And I I'm curious, what are some of the tools that are sort of in your go-to pocket? I know you spoke about meditation, but is there a specific type of meditation? And is there something maybe that you do sort of on an annual basis where you go and check out completely? And I'm curious to hear what you have on an ongoing basis that really helps you be the man that you are.
okay, well, I'll give you a formula, my type of formula. Um,
Oh,
and it involves meditation. Uh, I do a couple of different kinds. I do a yogic meditation. I was initiated into the Himalayan Institute of Himalayan Masters. And so I do a few variations of yoga meditation. I also do a Buddhist meditation at a different chakra, which is 2 finger widths above my belly button, which is a very unusual power spot. Many people know the center of your body, they know the third eye, but this is a very powerful one. It's 2 finger widths above your belly, but in the cross section of your body is an
Yeah.
ancient power spot. It's very powerful. I do that one,
Wow.
and I also uh, I when time doesn't permit a full, I like to do an hour to an hour and a half. If I can't, Dr. Joe Dispenza has a morning meditation which I put on, which is only 30 minutes, 28 minutes, and it brings me up a few levels of positive energy, and it's a guided one, so it's a different in a different way. It's not a silence, but it does motivate. So I'll do that. Pranayama, which is yogic breath, very powerful. And it can be as little as 5 minutes to 15 to 30. Okay, depends on what
Mm.
you want. Uh, and working out in the gym, I've I have a few injuries that I'm working on, unfortunately. So I'm down to a very modified version, but I like to do, a full hour with at least 20, 30 minutes of cardio in one way or another. Um, I go every year. I used to go multiple times every quarter to either a yogic retreat, a meditation retreat, Dr. Joe Dispenza. We go to my yogi's ashram in the Himalayan mountains. We got married there. And
Mm.
those retreats are usually, if it's Joe Dispenza, it's a week, but if it's yogic, it's 2 weeks because just getting to India, and Thailand. Um, I meet with the monks all the time. So those are special kind of awakenings every time because you go there with the new you, and the new you is hearing different things because the
Mm.
universe can only give you what you're vibrating on. So before I was here, I learned a few things. I'm going to be able to attain some new knowledge that I couldn't,
Mm.
I wouldn't hear last time.
Yes.
It was there, but I didn't
Yes.
attune to it. Now I can attune better. I hear it more. So
Mm.
those are some of the things that I hold very religious to me.
Mm. What would you say are some of the habits that you see a lot of entrepreneurs engage in where you would say, stop doing that, get rid of it?
That's well, that's enough. You're asking some killer questions. I had a mentor, his name was Ray Wilson. He just passed away a year ago, 95. And he would say that an entrepreneur always, but especially in the startup phase, can only have one obsession, not
Mm.
one and a half, one. And that, he would show me that he talked about another one of our group who was great at fitness, but also was very big in his church.
Yeah.
He wasn't putting down the fact that he was, dearly involved in the church. That wasn't his message. But he said he can't go as deep or as fast in either one because
Mm.
the energy is splintered. And
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, you have to be obsessed with one way. Now, it different stages of your life, different stages of your business, whatever you're doing, it can evolve. But at the time when we call it covering your sardines, uh, having enough to take you out of cortisol, out of stress, so you're able to breathe and receive,
Yeah.
you need to be obsessed. And I see through my own coaching, I teach people that, I see them on a million different chat lines and happy birthday and how are you? And that's a wonderful and this is great and so beautiful. Not now. Not now.
Mm,
Focus
mm,
on your task in hand. Give compliments later. Join that men group later. If that
mm,
man group isn't going to be part of that obsession where you're going,
yeah,
hold, put it aside for now. You're going this way, keep going this way. This is fragmented. You don't get there. It's like a magnifying glass. Get it as tight as you can and go that way. Stop eating from a buffet table. Just one
yeah,
food, period.
yeah,
That's one
yeah.
of the biggest mistakes that I see uh, that I could talk to an entrepreneur about.
Yeah. So true. And I see this all the time with people that are in the entrepreneurial space. They usually they like to be creative, they like to come up with new ideas. And I often call people out when I see that they're wavering and doing what you explained. To me, that's some sort of a coping mechanism. Oh, there's a sense
Hmm.
of resistance that comes up. Me just focusing right, only on my coaching business. Like, oh, it's not working out. I'm not making clients. It's like, oh, it's boring. And it's like, well, is it really? Or are you afraid to continue because you think you might be actually hitting failure? Right. And so what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's that developing that single-minded focus on this one thing in your life and getting it to a level of success where in bellwether language your dimes are taken care of, where you are, just like you said, out of cortisol area, where you remove that stress, because building anything from survival is almost impossible. Like, it's this, and there's no joy in that. Like, what's the point of
Hmm.
being an entrepreneur and every day waking up and thinking, oh my God, I have to, what if I tomorrow I can't make it? That's too much. Like, yes, there are people that have made it through that, but it doesn't have to be this way. So I love that philosophy that you're bringing forward. And as we are almost at the end of the conversation, I like to, pass the mic one more time to you and ask you two questions. One is, what is the message that you would like to share with a fellow entrepreneur that is looking at the kind of success that you have created in life, not just in your business, but also in your personal life as a human being, as an impact creator, that is aspiring to join you on those ranks? What is it that you would like to share as a parting message or advice or even invitation?
Okay. Energy has no limit. And when you tap into the energy, you become limitless. When you find yourself doubting, it's because you've miscalculated the energy. I believe that entrepreneurs should regularly check their self image to make sure that it's open
Mm,
on top of their head, that they're open to the energy, the unlimitedness of whatever it is they're doing, from a flower shop to creating a new medicine. It doesn't
yeah,
matter. It has to be limitless. And the joy comes from that because you
yeah,
flower with magic, things that are not logical. Logic is just a very small part of life. And as an
mm,
entrepreneur, go in it, jump, go 100%, and let the universe handle the details. Go
mm,
and enjoy and let it shower on you. Do everything you can and allow it to happen.
mm. What a beautiful message. And here you can see that the man really practices what he preaches, because right before he said that, he took a moment. he became quiet, took a breather, and checked in and allowed it to come naturally. And that's why the message was so powerful and so beautiful. So, Eric, thank you very much for being here on the show. I really enjoyed this conversation. And how can people connect with you if they want to find out more about what you're offering as a coach, as an advisor, or maybe you want to explore other business ventures with you?
Sure. So my website, you just reach me at ericlevineglobal.com.
Mhm. Beautiful,
Eric Levine at ericlevineglobal.com. And you can go on my
beautiful.
website and we can connect there. Or just my personal email is ericlevine55@gmail.com. Either one of those two, and we'll connect. And if there's something that we can do, let's do it. And
Amazing.
thank you
I
very
love
much,
that.
Mary. I enjoyed your great questions. Thank you.
Beautiful. We co-created them
Thank
in the space together. They arose out of the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be sure to add Eric's contact details in the show notes. Thank you for making the show possible. Thank you for joining us on this journey. I look forward to serving you on the next episode of the Zenpreneur podcast. And with that, we are complete. Have a beautiful rest of your day.